$1 billion. Can somebody please explain to me how you wind up spending $1 billion on a failed presidential campaign and still wind up $20 million in debt? Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. There are reports that presidential candidate Kamala Harris spent $1 billion in her campaign for the 2024 election. And these reports are also stating that Kamala Harris's campaign, after spending this $1 billion, is actually $20 million in debt and hasn't paid some vendors or some staffers. Now, I don't know what's more mind-boggling, the fact that they spent $1 billion on a presidential campaign, or the fact that this campaign was winding up in debt after losing the 2024 election. Now, this whole situation basically shows me that Kamala Harris definitely wasn't the right person to go out here and be the next president of the United States, because if you cannot go out here and maintain fiscal solvency for your own campaign, then how can you go out here and maintain fiscal solvency for the country? That's the critical question I have to ask as related to these reports, as related to the Harris campaign spending this $1 billion and having nothing to show for it but debt. This basically proves that the Harris campaign was not really fit for office, because once again, if you cannot manage your finances for your campaign, then there's no reason to say that you can go out here and manage the finances for the country. And when I think about what the Harris campaign spent its money on, it's basically mind-boggling as related to some of these expenses. Now, it's speculated that the Harris campaign spent a lot of money looking to go out here and find celebrities to go out here and endorse Kamala Harris, but did not go out here looking to spend any of that money on the grassroots. And that decision to go out here and spend money on celebrities, again, is another head scratcher, because it shows how completely disconnected the Harris campaign is from many of America's issues, because you're spending money on these celebrities thinking that they can influence the public, caught up in an outdated playbook that went out of style, I believe, back in 2008. Because back in 2008, again, this was the last time a celebrity like an Oprah Winfrey would have influence over most Americans. No, this was the last time she would have that influence, because TV hadn't gone digital yet, and with many people basically still watching analog TV and the internet just starting to evolve as related to broadband and faster speeds, Oprah Winfrey would be an influence on the masses, because she was, again, still popular in American homes. However, after TV went digital in 2009, people started to migrate away from television over to the internet, and they migrated because they could no longer watch the analog TV that had kept them captive and had programmed people to be influenced by prominent celebrities like Oprah Winfrey. No, people were no longer captive to these celebrities, but the Harris campaign thought that going out here and recruiting these celebrities would have influence over the American voter, who was upset about the state of the economy. No, what she thought she could do, because she really did not have a plan or a platform for her agenda, was go out here and look to overcompensate. Look to overcompensate by going out here and looking to go out here and look to use these celebrities as a way to try to sell the public, because Kamala Harris sadly did not know how to sell herself. And as she showed that she did not know how to sell herself, she basically proved a point that was presented back in 2021, where they said that the vice president's office was basically complete chaos under her mismanagement. And this whole situation with her campaign shows how she's basically scaled up that mismanagement, because to go out here and have $1 billion. Again, $1 billion. I mean, think about that. $1 billion, and you still wind up $20 million in debt, and you still wind up losing the election. That is an embarrassment all around, an embarrassment all around for the Blue Party as related to its whole state of competence. And again, I have to go back to the brother of logic and common sense when he talked about how this is not a winning strategy. And again, this is not a winning strategy when optically you're sitting there talking about how Donald Trump is going to mess up the country, how he doesn't know what he's doing, and how you're supposed to be the better choice. But the better choice cannot go out here and show how they can go out here and show how they're going to be more competent than the man you say is going to be absolutely horrible. I mean, these Blue Party candidates, again, don't really see where they're going, and it's all because I believe they've got a bad case of Trump derangement syndrome, and because they've got this bad case of Trump derangement syndrome, they are so caught up in their feelings about Donald Trump that they don't really think critically about their actions. No, they don't think critically about their actions because as she was going out here paying millions to celebrities, while many Americans were still struggling to pay their bills, you have this woman going out here and giving millions of dollars to get the influence of people like Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, and Cardi B. Again, not only celebrities, but old celebrities at that. Old celebrities that most of the American people, especially younger people, don't really know about because many of these people are in their late 30s or early 40s, and many of the younger people who are in their teens and the 20s, and again the early 30s, the voting blocks you really want, many of those people, they don't know or care about these celebrities. Again, the era of the celebrity basically was over, but Kamala Harris poured all this money in, I believe basically on the advice of a bunch of old baby boomers who don't understand that the world has completely changed. The world has completely changed, and nobody cares about the endorsements of a celebrity the way Bill Clinton went out here and made black people believe that he was for them back in 1992 when he made that appearance on the Arsenio Hall show, which again, that was about 32 years ago, or 2008, which was 16 years ago, when Oprah brought Barack Obama on the stage. Again, these events to a person who's a Gen Z, or even a millennial, or a Generation Alpha or Generation Beta, they look at you and go, what is this? Who are these old people? But Kamala Harris thought that this would be the thing to spend money on, but the celebrities really, again, had no impact because many people, again, don't know who many of these celebrities are, and that's basically Hollywood's own fault. It's Hollywood's own fault because back in 1996, many of these studio executives thought they could go out here and try to control all of the media. Unfortunately, as they tried to control all of the analog media in their efforts to, again, control television and movies, they didn't see how the internet was evolving, and that's how many of these celebrities became irrelevant to the youth, and Hollywood in itself became irrelevant to youth. So the influence of the celebrity endorsement basically was one of the worst things that the Harris campaign could do, but it was the thing that they did because Kamala Harris, again, a baby boomer, didn't understand the world that she was living in. She was been completely disconnected from the world, and that's because she basically slept her way to the top. And again, as she went out here, going out here being a side piece, she was not connected to real people and real problems. And this is how you could wind up blowing $1 billion, because in the eyes of a vapid person who, again, basically was a side piece for most of these politicians, like low down Willie Brown. She was not really, again, connected to the issues of the people. No, she was looking to, again, climb the ladder without ever thinking about any of the people that she needed to serve. And as she did this, again, this is how she shows us how she has an understanding of budgets. Again, the president is the executive branch. He is basically the CEO of the United States. And a CEO, at minimum competence, has to show that they have to have an understanding of how budgets run. And that's really sad, because Kamala Harris basically showed she does not know how to run a budget. Because if you can't run a budget as related to your campaign and come out on top, then how can you go out here and look to run a budget for the presidency? Critical question I have to ask all those Harris supporters who are basically caught up in their emotions as related to, again, so-called democracy. How are you going to show how you're a better choice if you can't manage the money that donors go out here and provide to you? That's the critical question I have to ask, because as someone who, again, gets donations from viewers to be able to do things like my book projects on the SJS Direct imprint, I have to budget all that money to be able to maintain my expenses for things like paying for my internet, going out here and paying artists for book covers, and also paying for marketing and promotion. I have to go out here and budget that money so that I can go out here and hope to continue to stay in operation. That's what I have to do to show, again, minimum level of competency. Unfortunately, when it came to Kamala Harris, her only qualification for the job was basically her gender. And again, gender isn't enough. You have to show competency as related to your position. This is what I talked about in many videos and live streams. I remember talking about this starting out with the Lori Lightfoot election loss, where I talked about the importance of competence, and because competence basically shows a person can meet the minimum standards for a job. And again, if you cannot go out here and be able to manage your money, then that shows you're just not fit for the job. And again, this report coming out after in the aftermath of the just crushing 2024 election basically shows that Americans possibly did make the right choice by rejecting Kamala Harris, because, again, I'll repeat it once more, if you cannot manage your money as related to your campaign, because your campaign is a business, it's a business where you're looking to make a profit. If you can't go out here and manage your money, and you cannot develop a strategy to be able to effectively go out here and make your money work for you, then you're not qualified to go out here and work as the candidate as related to being the next president, because again, a president has to, again, have that minimum competence as related to managing finances. That president has to have, again, a minimum competence as related to allocating money. And the decision to go out here and allocate money to celebrities, as I see it, was just, again, mind-bogglingly stupid, because any smart person would have known that TV, basically, after the writers and SAG strikes, basically TV lost 50% of its audience. Many of these Hollywood movies are bombing. Many of these celebrities basically are becoming less relevant. And the thing you want to do is go over to social media, go over to start talking to YouTubers like myself, go over to try to, again, present your platform and your agenda. But Kamala Harris didn't have a platform or an agenda, and that was shown by the dysfunctional way she approached Kai Cenat. I mean, the way she approached Kai Cenat just showed complete incompetence. I mean, you approach this man who has absolutely nothing to do with politics. Meanwhile, you decide not to go on the Joe Rogan show. Again, Joe Rogan, basically a guy who had over 11 to 12 or maybe even 20 million people listening to him on every podcast. A guy who basically had a huge audience. I mean, this was the guy who talked about things like politics, but because Kamala Harris wasn't a competent candidate and could only talk in word salad, she couldn't articulate her points like I do. I mean, this is another point that the brother of logic and common sense wound up making, that again, if you can articulate your points and present your arguments, you can go out here and persuade people to go out here and support your campaign. But Kamala Harris didn't have any sort of vision. She was basically just thrown out here to basically be a filler candidate, or as I would call her, a jobber like Michael Dukakis or Walter Mondale, who was just brought out here basically to just make it where they were looking like they were making an effort, similar to the 1968 presidential election, where they know Lyndon Baines Johnson basically screwed up with the whole Vietnam escalation and basically destroyed his approval rating and made it where he could not run because they know he would get crushed by everyone there. And again, they decided to run the vice president at that time, and he wound up getting crushed by Richard Nixon in the exact same way. And again, this just shows the level of competence with the Blue Party, which is in complete disarray, because Kamala Harris just again is the face of incompetence, and as the face of incompetence, she basically shows why some people would believe that we don't need a woman president, because these decisions to again spend money on celebrities, when again the era of the celebrity is looking like it's almost over. She spent over $1 billion and wound up in debt spending money on getting celebrity endorsements instead of sitting down and talking to we the people who do talk about these different subjects. Again, the Joe Rogan appearance possibly could have salvaged her campaign to a point and possibly could have persuaded people, but she didn't do that, and again went on Shannon Sharpe, another celebrity. And as she went on that celebrity show, she basically went again and prearranged questions, didn't go out here and let the audience go out here and ask tough critical questions. That was again a mistake, because you want to show, if you're working to be a CEO or an executive, you can go out here and when people ask you critical questions and give you and ask you tough questions, you can show your composure under pressure. 1, 2, you can go out here and show your competence as related to the subject. And 3, you can go out here and present your talking points as related to what your solution is. That's what a person in an interview is supposed to do. I know this because I've done guest spots on multiple different shows. And you have to be able to, again, maintain your composure. You have to be able to present your counterpoint, and you have to be able to present your solution. But Kamala Harris couldn't do that, and $1 billion couldn't clean up this woman, who again is supposed to be one of these HBCU graduates. I mean, college-educated woman, but she couldn't articulate a talking point, and that's really embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing that you trotted out a person who shows that they have no minimum level of competence, even though they went to a historically black college or university. I mean, if this person, that's an embarrassment to that school that this person is talking in word salad. Again, if you're an intelligent person, you would know how to do basic minimum things. And again, basic minimum things are things like knowing how to go out here and again manage a budget. This is your job as the leader of this campaign. Again, leadership starts with the person at the top. The person at the top is supposed to know how to manage a business. A person at the top, again, if you want a job as the head of the executive branch, you're supposed to know how to manage your money. You're supposed to have the strategy to appeal to people, and you're supposed to have a connection to things and be aware of trends. I mean, these things that I'm talking about, I've known about since about 2007 or so, back when I heard about TV going digital. I mean, I knew about this stuff, about the whole media landscape changing and the fall of the celebrity, knew it back then. And again, sadly, this woman doesn't know any of this. Supposed to be college-educated politician, supposed to be aware of different things, doesn't know how to work things like social media or media at all. And that's embarrassing because, again, Donald Trump is 78 years old, and he knows some things about this and knows something and gets people who know something about this. That's embarrassing because, again, here you have a woman who's 20 plus years younger, about 28 years younger. You would think she would know how to do these things, with her, again, getting these jobs as a district attorney, getting these jobs as an attorney general, running for office for Senate. You would think you would understand how the basics work in order to run for president. And it's sad that a guy from Monroe College knows more about the whole perspective of the executive branch, a guy who, again, basically has been working for himself because he can't get a job, knows more about the job of the presidency and running for president than the candidate that ran. That's what's really embarrassing because, again, anybody who knows, has a basic background in business, understands that, and nonprofits, and I have experience in nonprofits, you understand the basics for a budget are that your budget is supposed to be, again, allocated so that it can maximize your exposure. It's supposed to be allocated so it can maximize your connection to the public. It's supposed to be allocated so it can maximize your connection to people. It's supposed to be you setting up a campaign where you're talking about things like about helping the average American, not going out here and talking about joy, not talking about silly topics, and not talking about just one topic like abortion. No, you need to be having a, again, plan for where you want to go. And Kamala Harris shows us that even though she had $1 billion, when you have no plan whatsoever, this person just, again, they don't know, they wouldn't know what to do even if they had $1 billion because, again, money cannot go out here and cover competence. Again, competence is something that a person has, whether they have $0 or $1 billion. And again, a person who is struggling like myself, who understands how to use money, can go further than the person who doesn't know what they're doing. And that's what we see here with the Kamala Harris situation. Again, we see a person who, again, shows that money isn't a solution for everything, and that a person who doesn't know how to use money will always wind up coming up broke because they don't know how to spend money. And again, when you spend money with your feelings, like many of those in the Blue Party did, out of fear and desperation, what you do is wind up spending so much money that it just winds up being wasted. And it winds up being wasted because you don't have a plan for where you want to go. You don't have a vision for where you want to go. And that was the thing that killed the Harris campaign, was they had no vision, no direction, no purpose whatsoever. And since they didn't have a vision outside of joy, this is why the Harris campaign has embarrassed itself as it's feeling the pain of being $20 million in complete debt, and an embarrassment to the overall political landscape, and an embarrassment to their own party. Now, if you want to help me be able to make more videos and be able to pay for the internet and give you more content like this, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to check out some of the books that I make with money that I get from donations and super chats on the SJS Direct imprint, this is how I pay for the covers, and I pay for pages like things like art for comics, and go out here and be able to go out here and promote books. You can drop a donate. You can go out here and pick up those books on Amazon.com, such as those in the ISIS series, the Steam series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, my black sorority novel, The Thetas, and my black vampire novel, Eternal Night. You can find all those books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com by clicking the link in the description box, and you can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Horror of a Hyena Woman. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a wicked werewolf in this action-packed all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Horror of a Hyena Woman in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback Paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online booksellers everywhere today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.